Rolf Dane got involved in Scientology in 1968 in Denmark, and he got trained up to become a Class 8 auditor and was in and out of the Church of Scientology as a staff member for many years and finally left in 1992. He has since then been a member of the Freezone, delivering Scientology and his own brand of Scientology and other processes out in the real world. And he's still doing that to this day. We interview him. We think you might find it interesting. Stay tuned. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the channel again. Mark Fisher here, Scientology Peeling the Onion, and we're here with Janice Gillum-Grady. How you doing, Janice?
Good. I'm good. I'm just getting a phone call. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah. I hear your dogs in the background, too.
Yeah, I had to let them out. I've got a cleaning lady here, and they were going to go nuts. So I just let them out, and I have no control at this point.
That's okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
Anyway. So yeah, we've got another interesting story. I know a lot of people have been enjoying the stories we've been getting from these people who used to be in Scientology, or, you know what I mean, who were in for a long time. Yeah. And we've been doing a lot of those interviews, and a lot of people have been enjoying those. I've been noticing, particularly in the comments.
Yeah, I agree. And they have some great stories and history. And, you know, like today's guest, he's been around since the 60s and he's still auditing, you know, maybe 10 hours a week, he said. And he's part of the Freezone, which is independent Scientologists that are not part of what people consider the official Church of Scientology. So he's going to have history in Church of Scientology and history outside, doing his own thing as a Scientologist.
Yeah, and also he's trained up to Class 8 while he was in Scientology, and you know, so he's a trained auditor. And then also he went all the way up to doing his solo knots on the processing side, and he left the organized church in 1992, but like you said, he's been continuing. And so, right. Yeah, go ahead. Why don't you introduce our?
Yeah, so let's bring on Rolf Dane.
Hi, Rolf. How you
Rolf.
Doing?
Hi, Mark. Hi, Janice. Great to be here.
Yeah, we're happy.
We're happy to have you.
Thanks. I've seen so many of your shows, and they're great. I love to be in the series there.
Good. I'm glad you like them.
Where are you located? You're in Denmark?
I'm in Copenhagen, Denmark, right at the outskirts of the city here.
Yeah. Okay, great.
I've never been to Copenhagen. I had one chance to go. I had one chance to go there on mission, and I'd been in briefing to go on mission, and my mom went to Mary Sue and said, I'm only on the ship for a short period, and while I'm here, I'd like to see Janice. Can you please get her replaced on the mission? So I never got to go to Denmark.
I've been there twice, once on mission, but then once after I left Scientology. It's a fabulous, fabulous country, and Copenhagen is just a fabulous, beautiful, beautiful city. So anyway.
Thank you.
All right, well, we'll go ahead and get started. We usually like to start off with how did you get involved in Scientology, and when was it, and where? And go ahead and start with the story, and we'll go on through there.
Yeah, it was here in Copenhagen, in a suburb to Copenhagen. Kind of, there was what was called a franchise at the time, the same as a mission today. And there were, at the time, he was a celebrity, a baron called Erik Guldenkrone, who was in charge of this mission. There was a circle of rich Danes kind of gotten together and were excited about it. So they financed it and got it started and all that. And I was hooked very early. I was a very poor communicator. I was kind of flopping around in the university system and couldn't find anything that I really wanted to study. And then I ran into this here. And first of all, the communication get home because I was so, shy and impossible to communicate. So that was really a thing I wanted to learn. So I started on the basic courses in student, of course, the what was called the HAS course, the TRS course, and the student hat, and so on. And then Mr. Guldenkrone, he had been at the Athena, it was called the Royal Scotland at the time, and he came home and gave a lecture about it, and he said he could get three, he had made a special deal with Hubbard there, he could get three people down there, and they could just stay there for the summer and so on. And it turned out the deal was that he had, if he was told if he could get three people down there, three recruits, in other words, he could get a Class 8 who wanted to come to Copenhagen in return, you see. So it was a trafficking deal, if you will.
And when was this? This was in 1968?
Yeah, this was early 1968, 67, 68, around the change of the year there.
This would have been when November was when Hubbard got the Scotsman and sailed out of England with the advanced organization on board and went down to Valencia. And then after being in Valencia, because we got assigned liability, everything was moved ashore into Alicante, Spain, for the advanced organization. So this would have been in that time period that Hubbard moved it off the ship and put the ship in liability, and we had to go off and do training drills on how to be sailors.
Yeah, exactly. I experienced this so-called liability cruise, the whole deal. As I mean, they'd just been assigned when I got on board, or we got on board, and thanks to my great work, they got out of liability.
Now, let me ask you, on the liability cruise, were you with us when we lowered the 3 lifeboats and we rowed and did little missions out in the ocean, and then we were supposed to get back to the ship and we couldn't and we got beached? Were you with us for those lifeboat drills?
I don't remember being on that kind of thing, but no. But
what was your position? What did you do? What was your work?
Well, I started as a swamper, and I was a trained yachtsman, so I was very useful on board. And my bosun, he was a famous Scientologist, Auditor, the Dutchman there.
Yeah.
And I got promoted to his deputy, so I was very proud of that, because I knew my way around boats and so on.
Now, were you on the Avon River first before the Royal Scotsman?
No, yeah, that's where we arrived in Valencia, as I remember it. And but that was just shortly, and then we never berthed there. We went to the Apollo. Let's just call it the Apollo. And, okay. But I shortly met Ron Hubbard there before we took off, and we got a ride with Mary Sue herself at the wheel, and so that was very kind of impressive to get right to meet the top of people, right?
How old were you then?
I was in my early 20s.
Okay, yeah. And what was your impression of Hubbard and Mary Sue when you first saw them?
I was very impressed of Ron Hubbard, as he had an incredible beingness, and Mary Sue, I was less impressed, but she was very kind of. I got to like her, when I got to know her a little more, and she was our captain there, so that worked well.
Now, how long were you actually on the ship?
Mark, just so people know, when we were assigned liability, Leon Steinberg, he had been the ship master. He got removed, and Mary Sue, so that she didn't get sent back to St. Hill with the children, she said that she will take over as captain and get us through liability and get everybody trained. So that's how she ended up as the captain with support of Captain Bill and John O'Keefe and a few other ship trained people. But that's how she was captain with no training.
Yeah, I think I arrived with her as a passenger in her car there, and that's when she took over, as I can reckon. But with three Danes there coming along, and the other ones got really a sea problem left, right, and center. But I got really kind of interested and curious, and mystery sandwich and all the rest of it. I was excited. I had this old boy dream. I'd been a yachtsman since I could walk, so to speak. And I had this dream one day I would have a yacht and a big library, and I would sail the seven seas, and I would spend time studying and so on. And this was just a very good version of that dream.
Now, do you have any stories from that liability cruise or anything like that, Janice? I know you've told stories. We've had other people on regarding that, right?
Yeah, a story that could have interest in general would be that we were told we had it was absolute forbidden to speak to people ashore. And then one day we were on a trip ashore. And then there was a guy speaking pretty good English, and he kept bugging me. And what the ship was it a CIA ship and so on? And he said he was working for the local paper, writing articles just in his spare time, I would think. But so I finally broke down and said it wasn't a CIA ship and so on, and it was a school ship or whatever. So I think it was silly to leave them in mystery and all that, but that was that.
Yeah, interesting you bring up that back in early 68, they're saying that we're CIA. That was still going on 6 years later when we were in Madeira in 1974, and they threw rocks at us and they were chanting that we were CIA. And wherever we went, the papers were saying we were CIA.
Yeah. Well, I tried to dead agent it, but I was just a bum there from the ship, a little
right.
How long were you on the Apollo or on the Royal Scotsman or Apollo? How long were you?
Yeah, it was about 2 months in all. So it wasn't that long, but it was a misunderstanding. My mission holder, Erik Gyldenkroner, never told that he had done that deal, of course, and Mary Sue and the rest of them, they were expecting that we would stay and sign contracts and all that. And I was thinking, wow, this is better than summer camp this year and requirements. So there was.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Did you leave when they required everyone to sign CO contracts?
No, I left because they said now that the Commodore was coming on board, and they were headed for, I don't know where, but it was just like out of reach for a college student, to get home again.
We were going to Marseille. We went to Marseille and got Hubbard from there. But I remember at that time period, because Hubbard was coming aboard, you couldn't stay on the Scotsman unless you signed a CO contract.
Yeah, I don't know. I was asked all the time, have you signed the contract and all that? And it didn't mean a thing to me at the time. I was new to Scientology, and of course I knew it wasn't something when I left Copenhagen and my parents at home, I wouldn't just stay away for a billion years,
So did you end up going back to Copenhagen, or what happened after that?
Yes, I went back to Copenhagen, and later I was hooked on the whole deal with doing Scientology. So I went to St. Hill. At the time, you could get student auditing, meaning you signed up for staff, and I was on file clerk or something very important and not very stressful either. So I did filing in the daytime, and then I got student auditing at night, and that was quite, yeah, exactly. They had just built the castle as a beginning version of now is a big building, I understand.
Yeah.
But so I didn't have that much access to the what's called the St. Neil Manor there. But actually, as a side story, also that could have interest, we made good money. I could pay for room and board, and just a low budget everything, but that was fine with me, a young guy there. And so, but I could make some extra money by doing a cleaning job in the manor. So I was cleaning in the guardian's office with Jane Kemper and so on. And she didn't like it.
Oh, okay. So by that time, the children were on the Apollo, so they'd moved out of the nursery, and the guardian's office had taken that over.
Yeah, the Hubbard family was all on the ships, and the guardian's office, Jane Kemper, and what's his name?
David Gaiman.
David Gaiman.
Yeah, exactly. They were the big kings there.
And Herbie Parkhouse.
Herbie Parkhouse was there, indeed.
Charles Parcell.
Don't remember him. But I mean,
I have a question for you, Janice. Janice, I have a question for you. Because you were in the manor, you'd gone in the manor house when you were a kid, when Hubbard was living there and all that. What was it like them using part of it as offices after they left? I mean, wasn't it a beautiful manor house, and all of a sudden you got all these offices moving in there?
Yeah, no. Well, you've got the Hubbard where LRH was in Mary Sue, and I believe that it was all left alone.
Yeah.
But there was a section which was the nursery. That was 4 rooms. See where the front door is?
Yeah.
To the right of that, the next level up was the nursery. It was 4 rooms. Diana and Suzette, Quentin and Arthur. And there was a secret stairway from the other section that Mary Sue used to take to go down there. And underneath the nursery was a small dining room and the kitchen. And so the rest of the house was pretty much living quarters for Hubbard and for LRH and Mary Sue. And then over here on the closest to us, that was where Hubbard's office was, and the winter garden. And the winter garden was basically a room off of LRH's office. And as kids, when it was wet outside, we'd go in there, and it had marble floor. And we used to play jacks and card games and things like that. And Hubbard would come in and get a soda from the fridge and talk to us. And we'd be trying to pull up the grating around the outside of the winter garden because the heat went under the floor. And we'd lose jacks down those grates. And he would come out and help us lift up the grates so that we could get our jacks out.
Now, but what was the monkey room? Was that one of the nursery rooms that they used?
No,
I remember that became offices, right?
The monkey room was down below Diana's room, so that was on the first floor, and that was a room where the grandson of, I think it was, of Sir Winston Churchill had painted monkeys all over the walls. And when it was, my mother was actually in there, her and Phoebe and Herbie Parkhouse, their office was in there. And the walls had been covered with plastic to protect the monkeys from cigarette smoke and that type of thing, because people smoked a lot in the 60s.
Yeah.
And so that was just one of the rooms that had been used as an office space. And it was part of the dissemination, and the franchise network was run from there.
Okay. Now, were you doing auditor training then when you were at St. Hill?
No, I didn't do auditor training. I did some staff statuses and so on. I started on the academy in what was DK Org when I came back from St. Hill, and I trained up to class 4 at the time. But this was, what they since has been dubbed quickie grades. You did one process per grade. And I remember, if we go on to that, during the academy there, I was arguing with my course soup there if I could do the problems process and the objectives. And I insisted, and he said, oh no, this is terrible, The guy's going to release one time on grade 1, and that's it, Anyways, he gave in, and so he came many years later and said, you were right. So I felt vindicated there.
Now, did you start getting student auditing then when you were doing your academy levels and get your own processing?
That's what I got at St. Hill. I was audited up to grade 4, the old single grade style, just one process per grade and so on.
Did you co-audit? Did you co-audit it, or you were just the PC?
At that time, I was just a PC. Later I co-audited the so-called expanded grades with a fellow student from DKO. We had a great time out of it.
Now, can you describe for our we have a lot of viewers who are never in Scientology. What was it like receiving processing, and what was it that you liked about it?
Yeah, I think it was, it was a little rough because it was students and so on, but just to tell the gains and so on was fantastic. I remember even on these quite simple processes, and I was totally blown out on grade 0 and grade 1 especially. I remember that was the big blowouts. But there were many. I don't want to get into all the ups and downs and all that, but I remember one thing that I will report, because we were sitting out in a, what you call a pavilion outside in the garden house, and it was really freezing cold, and apparently the auditor was very pissed because my needle didn't move, and that was because I was cold to the bone. So she took me to Qual, and apparently her idea was I had to be declared SP because my needle didn't move, and
you were frozen. It was cold.
It was a stuck needle.
Stuck needle. But the dear Qualsec there, the examiner or whatever post she had, she said, your needle is very moving here, and she was excited. And so then I realized what was going on, So
you're happy to get out of there.
I survived just fine. But as you know, there are a lot of incidents where people a lot of upsets about nothing, But that's part of the game, I guess.
Right.
So did you go on staff in Denmark? Is that what happened? And you were a staff auditor, or what did you do after you did your training?
Yeah, I did my class 4 training as a public, and then I went on staff at DK Org for a while, and then I was recruited to the Athena that arrived here in Copenhagen. And so I became, exactly.
Yeah, the Athena, just so people know, is the original Avon River, which, the Sea Org started with the Enchanter, which was a very small sailing boat, and then there was the Avon River, and then the Royal Scotsman. The Enchanter name was changed to Diana, and the Avon River was changed to the Athena, and then she was sailed up to Denmark. When we got kicked out of Corfu, Stella King was the captain of the Athena, and she sailed it up to Denmark, so it would be the station ship up there, and Sea Org members could get trained on the sea on the Athena.
Exactly. So I signed up. I signed a CEO contract with at that time, and went on board Athena, and I was a staff auditor there, crew auditor. I thought it was such a funny title, but I audited the crew, and I at night I could do the St. Hill briefing course, and this was still kind of it was just when Standard Dynetics came out. And what Peggy Moss said, she was QualSec on board Athena and for all of Europe, I think. And she was my immediate kind of terminal. She was my CS and so on. And as she said, this Standard Dynetics that saved the day, because you couldn't get much business just doing the single grades and so on. And you could also see PCs really getting, fantastic gains suddenly, where they just kind of went through the motions a little more before. And but it was before the expanded grades came out. So while I was on board the Athena, they were published. And Stella said to me, go up on AOSH and assemble all the bulletins pertaining where all the processes are. This was before the red volumes and all that. And I went up there, went through Qual and went through tech services, course rooms, and what have you. And I got about 5 issues that you couldn't read, and that was all I could get about the grade. So the materials wasn't there. And that's when Ken Deltafield, he was at the PopSorg and very active. He got the green volumes out, and he also kind of facilitated that they got busy on getting the red volumes out.
Right. Just so people know, the green volumes are the Hubbard Communication Office policy letters. And so that covers the administrative technology that Hubbard put out on how to run an organization. And then the red volumes, those were Hubbard Communication Office bulletins, and those were all technology. So that would be the actual processing or technical side of Scientology.
Right.
Yeah. And finding those bulletins was just not possible because they weren't there, really. I mean, there were bulletins here, there, and everywhere, but you couldn't make a pack out of it by a long shot.
Right.
So that's when they got busy and really made a big project out of getting the red volumes done. First, we got it as in the normal duplicated, the Mimeo duplicated things, so we had thick course packs and so on. And then I remember there were real, as in the PopSorg, the publication org, were just downstairs from the AOSH, from the course room, just under, really, 1 story down. And that's where they were producing the red volumes.
Yeah, that now just so our viewers know, AOSH means Advanced Organization St. Hill, and it's basically, it was in Copenhagen, right, for Europe, and then they had one. The one at St. Hill was for the UK, but they had one in Europe, and it was AOSH EU, which was the Advanced Organization where you could get your OT levels, and then the St. Hill organization you could do the briefing course. Is that right?
Correct, of course.
Yeah. Let me give a little history there. St. Hill was in East Grinstead, and then the Advanced Organization was made, and then the Advanced Organization was moved to the Scotland and then Alicante, and then at that time it was moved up to Scotland. To AOSH UK was up in Edinburgh because there was problems with England on not wanting Scientologists there. And then while we were on the ship, we were in Corfu, and Hubbard wanted to set up another advanced organization. So he had Hank Larha setting one up in Corfu. And then when we got kicked out of Corfu, it hadn't actually been opened. So everything there, lock, stock, and barrel, was sent up to Denmark. And that's how AOSH Denmark was started.
Yeah, I experienced that first time. We had a student on DKO, and she was going off to Alicante, I think it was, right? And so we all there, goodbye, and have a safe trip. And 2 days later, she was back, and she brought the AO with her, you see.
Now I have a question. Were you living, were you living on the Athena?
Yeah, we were living in.
Sure. So you were living and delivering staff auditing on the Athena on the boat?
Yeah, up in the chat room.
Okay.
Up at the
did you all take the boat out as well at sea?
Yeah, we went out a few times. The money was scarce, so fuel was expensive, but we did go both to Gothenburg in Sweden and all the way to Stockholm, and then a few other trips. But those, to Malmö we also went.
How long were you then working there on the Athena, and then where did you go next?
I was on board the Athena about a year, and completing that, I went to AOSH as staff there. And I was a full-time student, briefing course student at the time. I had a night change on the reception, I think. And but I was a full-time student on the briefing course, and that was a pretty good time.
So that's when you finish the briefing course, you're a class 6 auditor, is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then when did you go and do the class 8 course? Was that later?
That was in the late 80s, 88.
Oh, okay, much later.
And and that was in Copenhagen as well.
So then when you were at AOSH and you were there on staff, were you would you audit public people, or was it staff that you were auditing?
It was mainly staff. I was mainly while being there, it was mainly like student auditing, and I did some professional work. I was the first work clearer in Europe, as a matter of fact. I was very proud of that, but it didn't mean that much. But it was a very interesting tech that I have kind of cherished ever since. But while I was on the course there, it was mainly students and so on. They didn't have the big need for extra hands, and I did the internship later, and there we were also auditing publics and so on.
I just want to mention, you bring up being the first word clearer in Denmark there. Just so our viewers know, a word clearer is someone who has the e-meter, and they'll actually help people understand words, look up the definition and understand every word in that definition. And if the e-meter reads, that it would indicate that there's something there they don't understand. And so the word clearer would work with that person to fully understand that word or that bulletin or whatever it is they're reading. Because in Scientology, it's a very big thing to make sure you understand all the words, which is what the student hat is all about, teaching you how to learn and recognize when you don't understand something and looking up the words so that you do fully understand it.
Right.
Exactly.
How long were you at AOSH?
About another year or so. And I mean, it came to an end. So I kind of, it's embarrassing. Let's just say I blew, and that was that.
I understand. Okay.
Yeah.
So what happened next? Where did you go, or where did you work? Did you continue to audit, or did you go off and do something else for a while?
I did something completely different and was very upset with the org at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But at the other hand, I really wanted to get back and do some more and all that. So that was kind of tied up in a knot, you could say. So I did something entirely else. I did office work and what have you, accounting and all kinds of things. And that was good for a change, getting into the normal society and all that, which was quite different. I didn't have much. You say I was before I got into Scientology. I'd mainly been a college student, and I hadn't much, professional or kind of work experience out in society.
Right.
Except I had a lot of summer jobs and so on, and small jobs. So in that regard, I did, but I never kind of settled in any job in particular.
What's your job now, or you're retired, except for auditing?
Yeah, I'm just doing auditing. I did some volunteer work as IT cafe, we called it, helping people with their IT problems and so on. I had some skills in that area, but that was just a volunteer thing.
Okay.
Did you eventually, you said, go to Flag in Clearwater to audit there too, or what happened? Or like, so at some point you went back, I guess, and started auditing again, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I went to FSO first time to Flag for the solo nuts thing. That was in 81, 82, when it came out a little earlier, but that was kind of the first batch at the time.
Did you go there as a public person or were you staff?
No, I went there as a public.
Oh, okay.
I've actually done most of my service as a public and then done interns as staff kind of thing.
Okay. So you did your OT levels and your knots or whatever, like you said, as a public person. And then you went to Clearwater to the Flag to do your solo knots, which is your OT, what is it, OT5 or OT6 or whatever?
Yeah.
New OT7, they call it. Yeah.
Okay. Now, why did you leave, or what happened in 1992 that you basically, disconnected from the Church of Scientology and went out on your own?
Yeah, I've been there for a while. I've never been kind of, as I can understand your careers, you've been on staff for years and years. I was always kind of on staff for 1-2 years, and then I didn't like the smoke in the kitchen or whatever. But then I came back and did some more. And what happened in 92 was I was auditing in the case cracking unit, HTC, and having very good results, and everything was dandy. But from time to time you got crammings, and then the cramming officer couldn't take you in, and so my stats gig went way down because you couldn't get back into session and all that. Then that was, of course, noticed upline in my network, my seniors. And then John Eastman, he came there on a tech mission, and I knew John very well. He had been auditing me on an L, for that matter, while he was in disgrace and not senior CS. But he had no mercy, and so I got this ComEv, and I was sitting there and waiting for the ComEv to happen, and I was sitting and doing some folder work for in the so-called FES room, but just going over old folders from PCs coming in, and then suddenly the Master at Arms, the ethics officer, came and picked me up, and I'd seen no paper that say, what do you call it? The summons, I think it's called, right? Where you're kind of
the findings and recommendations or whatever from the committee.
No, what you are accused of.
Okay.
I think it's called
the bill of particulars.
Yeah, that's right.
The bill of particulars. Sorry, I hadn't heard that term in a long time.
Yeah, I hadn't been
What were they
confronted
accusing
with.
you of? What were they accusing you of doing wrong?
Yeah, it was a lot of things. And the worst crime was that I've been using a meter that wasn't certified, you see.
Oh,
And and so there was a lot of things, and I got these particulars in handed, when I was sitting there in front of the panel, and then I could look, defend yourself, right?
Right.
Yeah. So I found it very kind of, that wasn't fair, if you put it that way. Anyways, so I got the findings and so on, and I was uh, accused of all kinds. You said, for one thing, it said, yes, I was accused of writing false reports, and it said clearly in the findings, we haven't got any evidence on it. For good sakes, we convict him of writing false report.
Yeah.
And even the date they had gotten wrong. It was that the findings were 2 days before the summons, you see. As I mean, it's gone so fast, so he'd just written a wrong date, but it doesn't seem right that the findings are out 2 days before you do the comment or so on.
yeah.
Anyways,
And then what happened?
yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So I found the whole thing was kind of I don't know.
Unjust.
Well, you can bet he was found guilty of not keeping Scientology working, because that was always like the number one thing. It's like the people are accused of being guilty of.
Yeah, right. Anyways, then I was kind of in a limbo there, and I didn't get any pay for a long time. And finally, I went up to the what do you call personnel chief and the head secretary,
Yeah.
and said I must have been fired because I haven't gotten paid for 2 weeks, and I'm not looking for being rehired, you see. And then I ruled it out after that.
So
So
then
I
you
ruled
looked
it,
out. Yeah.
yeah, in good order, good standing, and all that. But I learned a lesson, I must say. It had kind of been very sour at the time, and I don't know what to. You're so experienced with the inside stories and so on, so you have a much better grip on that. But
Oh, that's okay. So then did you leave and go back to Denmark, or what did you do?
no, then I went to LA from Florida to Los Angeles, and I stayed there with I left with my then wife. We left staff together and went to Los Angeles, and then later I moved to actually to the Midwest, and I had a carpet store there for over 10 years.
What kind of store?
Carpet.
Oh, a
Carpet.
carpet
Oh,
store.
okay. So you went into business, in other words, after you left.
Yeah.
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 Now, go ahead.
I've been in business before, so it wasn't that unfamiliar. So that was just a good opportunity I got, and it went very well for many years.
Did you continue with Scientology in that time? Were you auditing other people, or were you just on the sideline, or what were you doing?
Yeah, I was on the sideline until I got contact with basically Anthony Phillips, an old friend of mine from Copenhagen. And he got me to write a column for his little magazine, Ivy. He had a Freezone magazine that he published 4 times a year. And so I wrote a column for that. And then I got kind of really rehabilitated. So I thought of all the good training I've gotten, right? So that's when I sat down and say, now I'll write the whole thing up. There was nothing on the web, and everybody got got harassed. They were violating copyrights and so on. So I wrote a big website called Clearbird Materials, which is a complete academy training manual, if you will, and it's still on the internet and all that.
So what did you do? You'd put Hubbard's material together and put it all on the internet?
No, I rewrote the whole thing, so there wasn't any problems with the copyright. And of course, that was high crime number, I don't know, 65 or something on my part. But
altering technology, yeah.
my justification was that in any bookstore you could find manuals on computer programs, right?
Right.
And you're not altering the programs; you're just explaining it better. And that's exactly what I intended to do. I would put pictures on. I would put it all in context, so it wasn't like one bulletin here and another there. So it was very popular, and it's still out there and being.
How long did that take you to do? And like, did you do the whole tech volumes, or did you take like each individual auditor training level and do it that way? How did you do it?
Yeah, it was. I took the academy materials and for each level, and wrote them into a manual, if you will. Put good pictures.
So that would basically be the technology on delivery of the grades 0 to 4.
Exactly. And
then I guess people probably trained on that and became auditors and all. And then did you start auditing then too, or what did you do?
Yeah, that was. I didn't start auditing right away. I must say it was. But I was still I was in contact with many freezoners and so on. And I was living kind of out in the sticks as far as auditing was concerned. But then there was another Scientologist, Robert Ducharme. He started to deliver Dianetics via the phone at the time. And I befriended him long distance and got some training from him. So I started delivering his version of Dianetics as a normal phone at the time, and that develops into the internet. You could do Skype, and then you could do Skype with video and so on.
So you audit people. You audit people via Skype. People do that.
Yeah, that's what I do a lot now.
Oh, okay.
And I do walk-ins and I do via Skype as well.
I had heard from Glenn Samuels that the e-meter at that time, because he was auditing through Skype, somehow reflected on the wall behind the pre-clear so that you were reading the e-meter on the wall. Is that right?
Yeah, there are various solutions to that. There are these e-meters built in the Freezone that don't have a tone arm that you have to adjust as it's self-adjusting. So the client can put it up just so you can see the dial. As the auditor can see the camera can see the dial, and I can see it that way. And
so the pre-clear would have the e-meter and set it up in front of the camera so the auditor can view the e-meter and the pre-clear.
Exactly.
Okay.
Okay.
That's one version. Yep.
No, I was going to say, did you? Aren't there other OT levels and stuff out in the Freezone and all that, Janice? I don't know. I don't know much about that.
Yeah, there's Captain Bill's OT levels. Hubbard's went up to OT 8 that's been released, and then Captain Bill did up to 46 or 48 or something. Is that right, Rolf?
Yeah, that's 46, I think.
46.
Have you done it? Have you done any of those? Have you received?
I've done the Excalibur, which was the turned down to knots and solar knots. I've done that. but I haven't kind of gone all into Captain Bill's stuff.
Okay. How about, did you get fair gamed at all when you took the materials and put them online? Did Scientology or OSA, did they come after you in any way?
No, they didn't really. As I mean, at one time I had it on a self-publishing website, and they kind of interpolated the website, so they took it down. But that was all I got. The only thing I got from the church, it was a request for a donation. So I said, okay, we are friends. I'm not your enemy. I'm just your good friend that you don't know about, kind of thing.
Did you have any interaction or no, you didn't know David Miscavige, but did you have any interaction like when you were in the FSO in Flag and Clearwater or anything like that? Or was it just, he just was the leader of Scientology?
Yeah, I can tell you that much, that at one time I was on some kind of mission to LA, and I found that the atmosphere at Flag was very kind of pleasant compared. It was very tech compared to LA and so on. And I found that the atmosphere at FSO, it kind of got worse and worse as the ASC kind of dropped, and people got more suspicious and all that. And I found that was kind of the I mean, maybe I'm dreaming, but that's my interpretation of it, that it was this.
Well, yeah. We know from our own experience, wherever Miscavige went, the organization got heavier. I mean, people just caved in, or they weren't their flamboyant or bubbly selves because they would kind of shut themselves down and not be recognized or noticed.
Yeah, I mean, that was just what I noticed. There was more shouting, more accusations, and that kind of stuff, right?
What is your opinion of the church and the direction of Church of Scientology? And rather, you're in the free zone and you're doing your own thing, not part of the Church of Scientology. Why is that? And what's your opinion regarding that?
It's not good. I don't think they. I think in a more rational way that what's needed is some research and development, and not just sticking to old tech, if you will. I've done a lot.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I've been trying to develop tech and so on, and I've had a fair success with it. Not a broad success, but I think I can really do great things for people in much quicker and effective. And
Mark, we've run into several people who have further developed technology to help people based on Scientology.
Isn't Ant Phillips, wasn't he born? And then
Roger Buswava.
David, yeah, Roger Buswava. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, Alan.
And Alan Walter.
Yeah, he was right? Together with Roger, and they built the whole thing. And I just ran into, he was an associate of Alan Walter's, John Mace, who he was from Australia, as from Perth, I think, and he developed some tech that was related to Alan Walter's tech. And I just kind of picked up that there was a guy that has been fighting official psychology for years, an educated psychologist, and he's using it with great success, and he's very visible on YouTube with his stuff. And he promotes Mr. John Mace's tech there.
Mace, he must be from the Mace family in Perth, Penny Mace.
Yeah, he's from Perth. I believe he's dead now. He was very old.
Yeah.
Around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
How do you get your people that you counsel and pre-clears or whatever? Do you just people get word of mouth and that's how you find them, or how do you get them?
Yeah, there's a lot of word of mouth, and I have a mailing list I send out from time to time. And there's a lot of groups, and some of them have lists with listed auditors and so on. So that's a fair amount of out there.
I have a question in regards to the Freezone. There seems to be a lot of little groups of Freezoners. Is there anyone who kind of has stepped up to the plate to head up the Freezone and coordinate Freezone, or be a qualification unit, or a case supervisor for Freezone, or is every man for himself?
It's mainly every man for himself. There's, of course, I'm sorry, they've all had enough of the official church, I think. But anyways, there are two groups that are, there's, of course, Runtalk. They have good grip on things. There's a big one in Switzerland.
Yeah.
And they make big events in Russia every year where they call it training camps, and where they can get as many as 150 students to come with their incomplete courses and check sheets, and they just do 2 weeks of intensive training on whatever they are on. And this has been a great success for Runtalk Switzerland. And I'm a member and further educated in, there's Frank A. Gabodi, who is a medical doctor.
Yeah, we know Frank Gabodi.
Sarge Gabodi, yeah.
Gabodi, yeah.
Yeah, and he was a franchise holder in the Bay Area, I think.
Yes.
And he bailed, what's the name? The famous CSR, what's his name?
Who, David Mayo?
David Mayo, exactly.
Yeah.
They kind of, he helped him financially, and he became, David Mayo became his tech research and developer.
Right.
And,
yeah, Frank was a trained psychiatrist before he joined Scientology.
Yeah, but he's never kind of, he was from a very rich family, so he trained in philosophy. He had a master's degree in philosophy and psychiatry and what have you. And he's still alive, but he's kind of turned everything over to other people. And I'm a member of that organization, and I took the training, which gives me some reasonable certs and all that, which I proudly display on my wall. And that's how I operate, you could say, on those certs.
Okay.
If there's any.
We're getting to the end here now, but I wanted to ask you, how do you sum up like what it is that you do, and what do you think is the benefit for people in terms of getting auditing and that type of thing now in the Freezone? What is it that you think is beneficial, the message you would like to give to the viewers out there?
Yeah, can I show a book cover, if I will?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Because I've written this book and several others. It's called Deep Clearing, Releasing the Power of Your Mind.
Yeah. And
it's based on sound principles I learned in Scientology, but I'm going more into the energy side of the person's case. So, for instance, we can run a process like a communication process. I have done several videos and so on, but you can run a process on communication as a, what can you talk about a disgusting subject is one process I remember. So tell me about disgusting food, and the person brought up. And after a while, he can talk freely about the disgusting food, but with a stiff upper lip. So there's this disgust that isn't handled, right? So we're not gonna do a whole Dianetics trip on that, but we have a simple technique where we simply have the person concentrate on the feeling and then do kind of mindfulness on it. It's similar to repeating in on the on very other levels, and by that means you can, I can tell you, it's just like the, do you remember the pinch test? It's a test on the e-meter course. So it's the same. If you have the person recall this disgust all the time, after 5-6 times, it's gone, you know.
What's the end result, though, that you're trying to get with all of this, your auditing and all that? What, you know what I mean? What's the benefit to me, for instance, if I was to continue doing this? Is it, in Scientology, you're going to get all these OT abilities and all that. What is your, purpose or end product that you're going for?
Yeah, I'm going for the end products on the grades, you could say.
Mm-hmm.
I don't do OT levels with people. I'm not set up to handle solo auditors.
Right, and the grades are just so our viewers know, they're the basics. They're like communication problems, right? Service facsimiles,
overts and withholds,
that type of thing, right? So it's the lower level stuff that you're concentrating on.
Exactly.
Got it.
Now,
yeah.
Where can they get your book from if someone's interested in reading your book?
It's on Amazon. I have 2 books on Amazon, but this year Deep Clearing is definitely the one that.
And it's it's under Rolf Dane. Rolf Dane.
Yeah.
Okay.
On Amazon. Okay. Deep Clearing.
Yeah.
So if you're interested in reading these books, you can go to Amazon.com and just search for Rolf Dane or Deep Clearing, and you'll be able to find the books if you're interested in ordering them.
Thank you, Mark.
Yeah, no problem. I think we've reached the end here. We're just over an hour, and this is a good point to stop. Is there anything else you wanted to mention before we go to our ending business here?
No, I'll just say thank you. And Janice, when did you last use those boomerangs there?
I've never actually used them. I remember as a kid in the park, throwing a boomerang and it wouldn't come back. But I just keep them there as display and memories of my homeland.
Great. Okay. Yeah. So anyway, thank you.
No, yeah. Well, thank you, Rolf, for being here. Let me go ahead and we'll do this. Like I said, we'll play the end music and we'll talk to you on the other side. Please subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Hit that like button, hit the notification button. We greatly appreciate it when you subscribe. You get great stories, great videos like this one. If you have any questions or comments about what we talked about with Rolf here today or anything else, go down below in the comment section. We read them all and we will respond to them. And then also, if you'd like to support our channel, you can buy us a coffee. Go down in the description, click on that, buy us a coffee. You can donate to the channel, whatever you like. And of course, also you'll see products down below, Janice's books and different t-shirts and mugs and merchandise. If you'd like to order autographed copies of Janice's books, just click on those, and they're not expensive, but you'll get her books. She'll autograph them for you. They have lots of photographs, and we greatly appreciate any support that y'all have. Okie doke. I want to thank everybody for being here. Thanks, Janice. Thank you, Rolf. Anything else?
Yeah. Thank you, Rolf. I enjoyed that.
Thank you. I enjoyed it too.
All right. Bye-bye, everybody. We'll see you next time. You're welcome. Bye.